Hi everybody, I'm here with another gardening video for you this week. This one's going to be a little bit shorter and not focus on any specific topic. I'm just going to walk you through what's growing in my garden, some things I'm noticing, and also show you how to harvest cilantro because mine is ready to pick. So here is my garden. It's grown a lot since last week. We're in that time of year where the temperatures are still a little bit cool, but we're getting a ton of sunlight, so things just take off, which is pretty darn exciting. So I'm going to start with the tomato and a couple observations on the tomato. Really good new growth happening here. You might be seeing on yours the first cluster, oops, sorry, I was bad at camera angle, first cluster of flowers here. So expect to see these open up into yellow flowers in the next couple of days, and those are what's going to become your first tomato. A couple things to notice is the tomatoes are suckering, which means that we've got this nice new growth down here, and you'll notice this is where an old branch was. So this is a node. And these are axial buds. So if you remember our plant anatomy, tomatoes will grow new whole shoots out of their axial buds. And these are going to become the equivalent of one giant plant. So this thing will become a bush. So you've got two options here. You can let this plant bush out and give it some support, which is usually the preferred method when doing tomatoes this way. Or if you don't have a ton of space, you could choose, so I'm going to choose to just remove these two suckers. And maybe I'll leave some of these taller ones. So even in here, you'll notice, it's a little hard to see on camera, but there is a tiny sucker just starting to grow in this node space. So you can sucker or prune your tomatoes weekly to keep them not too gargantuan, but the more foliage you have, that also means you'll set more flower clusters. So we grow the tomatoes differently in the high tunnel, which I'll make another video of, but for sort of an outdoor garden setting, usually you're going to let your tomatoes get as bushy as you want, because that's the way you get the most fruit. So the rest of the garden is looking pretty awesome. My squash is really big, not much to do with it this week. Still a lot of new growth, some flower buds that are setting, so hopefully see some flowers opening up pretty soon. Basil is doing okay. It is now recovering. The new growth still looks good, so you remember from last week, if your new growth looks good on your plant, it's going to be okay. I think this one is a little toast. It does have new growth, but because it's not really photosynthesizing, it doesn't have a whole lot of leaves, it's probably not going to really grow that well. But these other three plants are going to be just fine. My beans are up, and if you remember from the first video, I chose to plant 2 beans just to make sure that they were successful, and now I am going to thin them. So what this means is you are going to choose your stronger plant, which is pretty clearly this one. It's a little bit bigger, it's got a couple more leaves set on it, and I'm just going to simply pinch and pull the other plant. So this bean's now dead. Goodbye. Woo! It's gone. But if these 2 beans were growing that close together, they're going to compete. And this bean, although it's tiny right now, is going to be super, super big. So I want to make sure it has the space it needs to succeed. Next, my mustard green mix is looking awesome. So you could actually eat these right now at any side. You might have heard of microgreens. Microgreens are where you're just eating the cotyledons of the plant. Very tasty. Spicy. Oh, it's really good. I swear. Try one. Try a cotyledon. They're delicious. Very mild flavor. But I'm going to let this get bigger. You notice we've got a lot of our true leaves in there. So again, another just review. All plants are going to have 2 sets of leaves. They have their first set, which we call the cotyledon. Those are the leaves that are actually tucked inside the seeds. And then we've got the true leaves, which is the leaves we're sort of used to seeing. So you'll notice all the cotyledon in this pot are this sort of heart-shaped leaf. So these are all Brassica rhapos. That's their species name. So they're all going to have the same cotyledon. All the Brassica family, Brassica rapa, Brassica oleracea, they're going to have these same cotyledon. But their true leaves are going to look really different. So here's some just standard field mustard. Here is some streaks. Here is some ruby streaks. It's red. It's got that sort of frilly leaf also. Here's some variegated mustard. So there's a lot of different types of true leaves, even though all the cotyledon are going to look the same. So you'll sort of see this pot, if you've done yours like mine, it is going to poof up like crazy. And next week we'll be able to start harvesting some salad from it. Alright, so my cilantro is looking really, really awesome. It's grown super well. It's super big already, so it is actually ready to start harvesting. So when we're harvesting herbs and a lot of leafy greens in general, there's sort of two ways we can harvest it. We can sort of bulk harvest. I could grab this whole thing and cut, which I will demonstrate. That'll give you like definitely enough cilantro for a meal for like four, as like a garnish on top of a dish. So if you're doing tacos or you're doing like a burger or you're doing some sort of protein-based dish where you need like a little tasty garnish, cilantro is awesome for that. So if you're gonna like say try to feed 4 people, you could take this whole thing and cut it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So here I go. I'm gonna grab the whole head here, and I'm not gonna cut too low. I'm gonna leave quite a couple inches because what we're gonna see. So now that I've cut that, let's go down here. There's actually 5 individual cilantro plants in each of these blocks, but down there you can kind of see them. There's going to be a bunch of new leaves coming out. So this is what we call a cut and come back green. This is going to be ready to pick again probably in a week or 2, or maybe even sooner than that because these pots are so happy and full of nutrients. So there's my harvest, looking pretty good. So the other way you could harvest this is just to snip off, like say you're just want to add a little garnish or you need like a little zest to whatever you're eating, you could just say pick off a couple leaves right at the bottom of the plant. So that's another easy way to harvest. If you just like literally you're like, I'm going to eat 1 taco, I'm going to have a quesadilla, I'm going to go get like 2 sprigs of cilantro, chop them up, throw them on there. It's going to add a lot of flavor because they're so fresh. So as another reminder, like when you pick something and then eat it immediately, it is going to have absolutely the maximum flavor compared to if you got this at a store and it was probably harvested minimum a week ago and then shipped there. It's been sitting around. Every second it's disconnected from the plant, it is losing flavor. So the nice thing about growing your own garden is you can often get away, especially with herbs, you can end up using less than you might in a dish than if you bought it because it's going to have so much more flavor. So that's it for this week. It is a short week after all, and hopefully that now you know how to harvest cilantro. You have an idea what my plants are looking like for reference and what's going on with them. So happy harvesting. I hope you enjoy some cilantro like I am. So good. It is so good. So I'm still enjoying seeing your pictures and your observational posts, so keep sending me stuff. I love seeing how your gardens are doing. Feel free to reach out and ask questions. I will see you on Thursday for our live class. Take care.